I think it's, he needs a better translator, or, he needs a better interpreter in that way, because...
you mean Vice President Pence?
I mean, of course, because number one, that, on one hand he says, well, China is not really following the rule of law, but why should China write in such a sort of law if China has a vicious intention in that? He is totally underestimating the Chinese wisdom in that regard. Right. So if, this is something to be arranged, below the table, it shouldn't be written on the, on the open and transparent clause.
And companies, like Chinese or foreign, who operate in China would have already protested if such a clause would have been written there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it should be pursued on case-by-case basis. You can't just revoke, a law that has general, jurisdiction over corporate behavior, and also that's really a contract. It's not only imposing the obligation for this information disclosure to the government, but also that can also mean a buffer against the government, unfair interference into the corporate privacy and consumer privacy.
Actually, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just had a talk on this, and they pointed out that in China's law, both in the Constitution and in various specific laws, there are very numerous stipulations about protecting individuals or companies' secrets or personal privacy. For instance, in the law on the protection of minors, in the criminal law, or in the criminal procedure law, especially in the Chinese Constitution, Article 40 says that the freedom of privacy or correspondence of citizens of the People's Republic of China are protected by law. What does that say? If you look at the things in a global manner, of the intention and the determination of the Chinese government to do what it can to safeguard people's privacy and data security.
I mean, you got to understand that when you're talking about 1.4 billion people, when you're talking about a legal system which has only really been in place for the last 30 years, I mean, and with these ambitions to try to implement this for 1.4 billion persons, which is, a huge majority of the world, this is no easy undertaking. And so what I think the narrative is wrong. I think that the narrative is that China's been caught on its back foot in saying that they're not implementing. When you look at the Constitution and the laws that you've just identified, it shows that is the same as anywhere else. As the professor was pointing out, let's take a look at cases, let's take a look at implementation. And that's not always so apparent in every other country in the world as well. This is all national security, therefore you cannot see it. It's in camera, it's behind closed doors, and we're not going to discuss these things. China is actually, like you said, if it was going to be so evil, it wouldn't be writing laws, policies, and regulations protecting people's privacies. And the other thing is that we have a lot of things in our Constitution, all men are created equal, and that there aren't always done as well.
Well, some people might disagree that China is not evil.
Right. No.
That's exactly the problem, because they think that China is evil, therefore what China does is,
but that's the context. That's what I'm saying. It's through shadows and ghosts and mirrors when you arrest Meng Wanzhou, and then the inference is made that all this is bad and all these privacy rules are being trampled upon, and it's just not a fact. It's an innuendo. And then when you go to what's been, critics have called it Insecurity Council in Munich, where they're talking about security, and this doesn't help.
Right.